Alright, welcome back Physics 30. Today we are learning about speed of light. Now, this is some of those questions where you will see a lot in diploma. Actually, a lot is a wrong word. Maybe one or two, but it's consistent. You will see that every year. It is one of your outcome. You need to understand some of those scientific discovery, and at the same time, you need to understand what kind of method they use and how you calculate, basically. So, I organize my scientists and experiment based on chronological order, basically most ancient to most recent, and of course, this Michelson's experiment is what we are going to focus the most. So let's talk about this. First thing first, Galileo, one of the most genius inventor, scientists, and artist of our human history, basically. As you guys probably know, Galileo was a person who went to the Tower of Pisa that dropped a big rock and a small pebble, and then which one gonna fall first, and then he discovered, or he more showed to the other audience that it actually dropped at the same time, not the heavy object, because gravitation and acceleration work for everybody's, which is done by Newton. Now, Galileo was a curious person. He wanted to find out the first attempt to determine the speed of light. Because everybody know that when it comes to speed of light, we don't know the quantity, but those are pretty darn fast. You can't even see the light that is miles away. Even when it comes to sound, you cannot hear some of the sound that is made by a person miles away. Unless it's really, really strong sound like cannon or shotgun, those kind of situation. So, late 1500s to early 1600s, he and his assistants stood up the two distant hilltops, basically. And with lantern with shutter. So, if I draw that situation, here's Galileo, here's assistant, and they are pretty much far away, of course. But Galileo opened his lantern first. So he got the lantern with the door that is open and closing. He opened the lantern and his assistant saw the flash of the light. He was immediately also opened his lantern as soon as the light coming out. And Galileo basically used his pulse to measure the time between initial opening of the shutter and the final. However, we know that this is not fast at all. The reaction time were basically too slow for any type of animal to determine the precise and accurate data. So precision and accuracy for each of them was very, very low. Quite poor, in fact. So it is impossible. It was a good idea to observe going up and back and forth and probably divided by 2 for the distance. However, it was impossible. Now, second experiment. Romer and Huygens. Now, in this time, we're going way more distance. We're not talking about distance between the heel. I mean, it can be a lot, depends on people's perspective, several hundred kilometers maybe, but even that time it wasn't that much. It was more about certain kilometers away. Because if it's further than that, human cannot see it, basically. Now, Danish astronomer. Basically, Romer observed that a motion of the moon, and at that time we know that moons rotate around a certain planet like Jupiter, Earth, those kind of thing. But at certain times of the year, moon would appear a little bit closer compared to the other time. Sometime the moon was observed a little bit bigger, sometime it was further away. And the moon that he used was basically the one that belonged to Jupiter. I believe it was Io or Io, but we can verify that later. Let's go to a mathematical proof at this point. When Jupiter was in front of the moon, that was the way where moon would experience an eclipse. That means it is basically hidden situation. And know the fact that Earth also rotate around, so time of eclipse and then time of eclipse later can be determined during these two times. And I'm going to use diagram to explain that better. Now let's look at these two situations. Earth. Now, a certain time of the year, Earth is in front of the sun. And that time, Romer discovered that time of eclipse actually came a bit earlier. On the other hand, when it comes to Earth behind the sun, and we know that Jupiter is in front in that situation, time of eclipse came later. So how can we explain about this time gap? In fact, the time gap between this A and B situation was about 22-minute difference. As you may know, when you look at the distance between Earth and the moon of the Jupiter, this distance 1 versus that distance 2, we know that distance 2 is way further away because we're at the opposite side of our orbit. So we need to basically go extra r distance, which means time for 1 was a bit shorter, time for 2 was a bit longer, and these two gap was in fact around 22 minutes. So he calculated using basic math calculation, v is equal to d over t. We just apply how much distance apart between first one and second one, and it was using Earth's orbit, which is 3.0 10 to the power of 11, and we divided by 22 minutes, and the value that was found was 2.3 10 to the power of 8. When it comes to that, I like to say accuracy was on the right track, precision was somewhat off. Because technically the real value is 2.99998, something like that, to the 10 to the power of 8 in real life, which in high school we call it 3.0 10 to the power of 8 on purpose to make everything easier. But yeah, it was accurate, it was on the right track if you look at the exponent value, but the whole thing was a bit off. And nobody believed that value because that value was basically rejected because it was too big. A lot of people didn't believe it. A lot of people determined that that must be an error. But it was pretty accurate, I like to say. And remember, that time was 1700 to late 1600. It's not even that far away from Galileo's death if you think about it. Now, number 3, one of the most precise mathematical method, Michelson. Now, his method was quite interesting. Before I go through, this is famous experiment, always included in diploma, DQ, diploma question. So let me go through this experiment a bit. Basically, the distance that he had between telescope and this fixed mirror was about 30 kilometers away. Now remember, just because it's 30, that doesn't mean it's 30 technically. You're going back and forth. So going towards the mirror and coming back to you. So it is in fact about 60 kilometers as an actual distance that is traveled. However, in any case, further the distance, the better, because light speed is enormously fast. So that's why further distance, you may have better precise answer. Now, here's what it did. There is some observer. Light source was placed completely in an opposite situation, and the mirror actually rotates. In this case, consider as a clockwise. So what happened is this. This rotation have a certain frequency. Because remember, it's oscillatory motion. It has a pattern. Now, if we measure or set up this machine to have a certain frequency, here's what happened. The time that it hit a certain light over here, and if it's going all the way 30 kilometers to the fixed mirror and coming back, during that time, if we think about it, this will move once and twice. And it will be located on this returning side of the light, and if it's hit, it should come back to an observer. In that situation, if we use, instead of the time that it takes from here to here, like using pulse and those kind of method is gong show, but in any case, if we know this frequency, that means we can get a period by just doing 1 over t. We may use this t for our delta t. So Michelson's experiment was done in that way, by changing the frequency or finding out a certain minimum frequency to see the light continuously. So when I say continuously, that means there's no blinking light. It's just straight light. Even if it's rotating the light continuously going to your eye, then we can figure out our speed of light. This is how it's done. This formula is not given. It's your job to actually figure this out. But it's in fact quite simple. Think about it in this situation. It starts from V is equal to D over T. Now, however, let's think about it. This D is in fact going back and forth, right? So it's double the one direction. And we call this big D as distance between the mirror. Now, let's talk about the time. Now, time, yes, we're going to use period, big T. However, if it was 8th side of it, we need to divide that into 1 over 8. In this case, I'm going to use the word 1 over n because this n is whatever sided mirror. So it can be hexagon, octagon, whatever you want to call. So we call it n-sided mirror. And t is basically the period of rotation. By using this, we got what we now accepted as 2.997 blah blah blah, or 2.998 10 to the power of 8. It is not only accurate, but also it is precise. The way that you can basically make things better, if the value is too small, then make more number of side, or make frequency a little bit matched to a minimum frequency, not maximum frequency, or make the distance far apart. Simply as that. And in physics study, of course, like what I mentioned, we use 3.0010 to the power of 8. In Michelson's experiment, you may get the value a little off. Like the question that you see over here. 2.7 10 to the positive 8. Don't get panicked because it's experimental value. So let's do with one type of question. In a Michelson's experiment, the 8-sided mirror rotates at a minimum of 36,000 RPM, rotation per minute, to see the light. If the measured speed of light was 2.7 10 to the power of 8 meter per second, determine the distance between the mirror. So, here's what we're going to do. Let's list what we know. V is given, 2.7 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. Now, frequency is given, 36,000 RPM, which is fancy way of saying 1 over minute. We gotta do unit conversion first because we like to find out using second. Let's be consistent. Unless you change this value into minute, which is a gong show. Why are you doing that? Now, I don't want minute. I want a second at the bottom. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. Hope you guys master the unit conversion at this time. So it is fancy way of saying 36,000 divided by 60, that is equal to 600. 600 1 over second or 600 hertz. Now that means big T is 1 over F, it's 1 over 600 second. Now, some people like to put that in a calculator, but I'm just going to use fraction because I believe 1 over 600, if you do, yeah, as I thought, it gave you repeating decimal. Do not round it. Just choose to use fraction. That include everything. Unless you have a fancy calculator where you can go back and forth. The new version of Texas Instrument, I don't have it. Or in university, you are not even using graphing calculator. So just use fraction. You can do it in Physics 20. Now, let's think about the formula. I'm going to start from basic. V is equal to D over T. We're talking about the distance between the mirror. So isolate for that. D is equal to VT. Now remember, this D is my total distance over here. So I'm going to make it into 2D. And this big D is how much that is apart. V is V. Now T, we're using period. But know the fact that it is 8-sided mirror, which means it's 1 over 8 of big T. So it does involve quite a lot. So if I use my simplification, that's VT over 8 basically. Now, I need to remove 2 by divided by 2 on both sides. So in the end, D is equal to VT over 16. That's what you need to do. And now let's punch the number in. My V is 2.7 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. T is 1 over 600 second divided by 16. And that's where I can find my meter distance. So 2.7 10 to the power of 8 times by 1 over 600 divided with 16. I have 28125 meter, or if I divide it by 1,000, that's 28.125 kilometer. You may want to use scientific notation. 2 significant digit is what I have. So this is 28 kilometer, or I do not know which one you will see, but any of those are acceptable. That's how you do Michelson's experiment. And don't get panicked, like I said, even if you get a little bit off from speed of light situation. There's no experiment in real life that is accurate 100% or precise 100%. We're trying to discover the truth of the nature, right? So that is today's lesson. What you need to do is basically complete any type of homework that involve with the speed of light, A and B, all of them together. Thank you.